executive session, so it would be, we need to have our joint meeting called, there be meetings to order,
Yes, if there's a quorum.
if there's a quorum.
Not sure anybody.
I don't think anybody has a form.
No.
Okay, now,
We
just,
don't.
so we're all set then, okay. So, note, this meeting is being televised, streamed, or recorded by Bourne TV. If anyone in the audience is recording or videotaping, they need to acknowledge such at this time. Oh, there's our friend, okay, thank you, welcome. Please refrain from flash photography. So if anyone from the public wishes to access the meeting, they can do so by calling the following conference line: 1-929-205-6099, Zoom meeting ID 897-1229-3538, password Bourne all caps. The Zoom meeting chat will not be monitored. Participants who wish to speak must raise the hand icon until the chair asks them to unmute. All items within the meeting agenda are subject to deliberation and votes. And we are starting this evening with a citation honoring Sergeant Perry for his exceptional service to the community. So Sergeant Perry, you come on up and then we can. So Sergeant Wallace J. Perry, the fourth, yes. The town of Bourne, wow, you've got a big feeling. The town of Bourne wishes to formally recognize the extraordinary service, compassion, and presence of mind of Sergeant Wallace J. Perry, the fourth of the town of Bourne Police Department. And whereas on the evening of December 9th, 2025, through official off-duty, Sergeant Perry was by sheer circumstance at the Bourne Bridge at the precise moment an individual was attempting to scale the barricade. And whereas, recognizing the immediate and critical danger, Sergeant Perry placed the safety of a fellow resident above all else. Exiting his personal vehicle to engage the distressed individual. And whereas, demonstrating the immediate and critical demonstrating superior communication skills, empathetic patience, and professional training, Sergeant Perry successfully de-escalated the high-risk situation and persuaded the individual to climb down to safety, thus preventing a tragic loss of life. And whereas this selfless and timely act underscores the true calling of a law enforcement professional, illustrating a deep commitment to human life and transcends the constraints of scheduled duty. Now therefore be it known that the select board of the town of Bourne does hereby present this official certificate of exceptional service to Sergeant Wallace J. Perry IV for his courage and vigilance, which by fate or fortunate delay resulted in the preservation of a life. We express our deepest heartfelt gratitude for this act of genuine heroism, which brings profound distinction to the town of Bourne Police Department and the entire community. Thank you.
I actually want to thank the board, and I want to thank my wife who, at 2:30 in the morning was like, so thank you. I also want to tell you guys that I did reach out to this gentleman. I spoke with him. His story is not mine to share, so I'm not going to do that, but we had a very good conversation. And if you guys know anybody who's having mental health issues, especially around the holidays, please reach out. Okay? Thank you very much. I appreciate this. Thank you.
Before we get started too, we'd like to take a quick moment of silence. We want Kate Haynes, she retired in September and she passed away recently, so we'll stay with the moment of silence, stand for that. Right, then why don't we, salute the flag while we're up doing that? Yeah. Pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Next is our discussion fiscal year 2027 budget preview and operating and capital budgets.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, let me share my screen here. Okay. Sorry. Thank you. So last month, Erica presented the FY 25 fiscal year review and spoke about the long-term financial model that we use. Tonight, I want to take a couple minutes to preview FY 27, the operating and capital budget. We don't have an FY 27 budget yet, but I want to start laying the table and outlining some areas where we might need to spend some time together discussing different items. So there are some slide decks on the corner of the table there, so feel free to pick one up on the way out, and I will also email them around tomorrow. But I want to start by just orienting everyone to the schedule that will lead us up to town meeting. So January 15th is the deadline set by local bylaw, where the town administrator is due date to present a balanced proposal to the select board for the next fiscal year. So the next fiscal year would start on July 1st, 2026 and end on June 30th, 2027. My goal, and I anticipate being able to present the select board my initial proposal for FY 27 on January 6th. To allow some additional time for the board to discuss. Right now, we have started outlining a preliminary budget. We are not currently balanced. We have about a $900,000 deficit. And I'll talk about some of the things that we're still waiting on farther on in the presentation. I want to give the budget to the select board as early as I possibly can, because they have a deadline of February 1st to turn it over to the finance committee. And we anticipate at this point that the select board will vote to transmit the budget on January 27th. And I know through conversations with Dr. Joe that the school committee is also taking steps to reach a final budget number before earlier in the process in the calendar before your deadline as well. And if you'd like to kind of outline that for the group, I'm happy to.
We usually have our budget hearing in early or mid March, but we're trying to move it to the February 7th meeting. I believe it's the 7th, could be the 6th. I don't have a calendar in my head, but it's the first Wednesday in the month of February. So that will give us a head start to have that hearing to, we should be in balance by then, at least for our needs, and then we can turn it over.
So we are collectively trying to give the public, give the finance committee extra time, as much extra time as we possibly can we don't want you to feel rushed as you're going through the budgets. Right now, we have a tentative date for March 16th for the finance committee to hold their budget hearing. And then May 4th is the town meeting. So that lays out at the very highest level, the schedule leading up to town meeting. Let me just grab some of that. Okay. So I want to talk about some of the assumptions that we use, because budgets are only as good as the assumptions that you built them on. And all of these are subject to change. As I said, we don't yet have a budget, and we're preliminarily, we're not balanced yet. But we have a strong intention of maintaining a very conservative approach to estimating revenues. And Erica is diligent for very good reason, in making sure that we maintain that we are as conservative as we possibly can be. And we'll talk more throughout the night about why that is important. Later in the presentation, I'll be speaking in detail about free cash, and we'll circle back to the importance of conservatively estimating revenues. So with that in mind, we are estimating the maximum levy capacity under Proposition 2.5. So that pretty much means that our revenue can grow by 2.5% by tax levy each year. That assumption matches the assumption that we use in the long-range financial model that Erica presented at the November 18th Select Board meeting. So our long-range model is also based on maximum levy capacity. Right now, we're holding a number of 300,000 for new growth. The long-range model assumption for new growth is $350,000 a year. So we're very slightly more conservative than the model in that regard right now. But by the time we get to January 6th, the new growth number is one that you may see a different number presented to you in order to balance the budget. So right now, with a $900,000 gap, I may not be able to hold as low a new growth number. Right now, as we stand, we're holding general state aid and education aid level with no increases, and we're holding local receipts level. And local receipts are things like excise tax, hotel motel tax, meals tax. There's a whole list of them when you look at your sources and uses. And the long range model assumptions for state aid and local receipts include a modest increase based on the most recent 3-year average. So again, we're slightly more conservative at this point, but because we're not yet balanced, you may see some changes, and we may budget additional revenues in some of those in some of those local receipt lines on January 6th. We won't have any of the state numbers, the state aid or cherry sheet numbers by January 6th, and that will remain level, but we will be taking a look at the local receipts revenues between now and January 6th. One of the things that I think that will require some discussion and some deliberation is that at this point in the process, the budget is structured that we are using $545,000 from capital stabilization to support debt service. This is a $201,000 increase from the current fiscal year 2026. The long range model assumes the use of $350,000. So from capital stabilization fund to support debt. So this year we are looking at a deviation in a significant way from the model for debt service costs. As we've noticed in the past couple of years, as debt has been falling off, as debt is being retired, we are not maintaining that investment capacity in the operating budget. It's being used for services. So it's being used to pay for the day-to-day expenses. And that's something that, we are getting uncomfortable relying on capital stabilization to this level. So this is something that I will talk more about on January 6th, and we will need to discuss. The offset from capital stabilization, it's my understanding that this was intended to be a temporary measure, not a permanent solution. It was in place when I began, so I don't have the history, I don't have the institutional knowledge, but I think one of my goals is to try to find ways to rebuild the investment capacity in the operating budget, so we can support the debt service using the revenues in the budget rather than outside of the budget using capital stabilization. But a lot more discussion to have there. At this point, I do want to reinforce that this is the most significant deviation from the long-term model assumptions. So when we're talking about assumptions, this one is becoming out of balance. Okay, so some expenditure placeholders for FY 27. There's some pretty big pieces of the budget that we don't know yet, that we are dealing with unknowns here. So one of those is the Barnstable County dispatch assessment. We have not received that yet. So the fire department dispatches using Barnstable County. Right now, we're holding a level, no change budget. So the same as FY 26 is what I've got plugged in there for FY 27. However, that might not be accurate. This is something that can change. So this is something that I hopefully I'll have this number prior to January 6th, but this is a large number in the fire department budget. So even with this at a no change right now, the fire department is running an increase over last year of about 5.6%. So public safety is one of the areas we're seeing a lot of pressure for increased expenditure. So if the Barnstable County dispatch number comes in significantly higher than the current fiscal year, the fire department could be showing, even more than the 5.6% increase. And that's something that we might need to talk about once we have that number plugged in. Right now, the police department is running at about a 4.9% increase. And that is with the patrol contract still open. So the patrol contract is not, the police budget is not built yet with real numbers for the patrol. They're still working off of FY 25 numbers. So we know that there's going to be an impact there when that contract closes. The police department is also offsetting a portion of the dispatcher's salary with 911 grant funds. So that's already built into the budget. This is a fairly stable and routine grant, but I do want to let you know that from the beginning, those grant funds are built into offsetting some dispatcher salaries in the police budget. We also, and this is the one that is making me the most nervous, is that we have not received the retirement board assessment yet. Last year, Erica checked, we had it December 6th, so we had it the first week of December. Christmas is next week. I'm getting nervous about this just because it is such a large number in our budget, so even a little swing can have a big impact. As things stand right now, we're holding a 6% increase for the retirement board. I hope it doesn't come in higher than that. I will say that the long-term model assumption is a 3.5% increase for the retirement board. So we are building in some space in FY 27 budget over and above what the model assumption uses. But this one is making me nervous. Group health insurance is another area where we're going to probably have a little bit more discussion than in the past. So in this budget, for FY 27, I plan on proposing a premium rate increase of 5%. Now, the town pays 75% of the premiums, and the employees or retirees pay 25% of the total premium. But we are structuring a 5% premium increase in from the beginning here. The long-term model assumes a 7% increase on health insurance premium rates. However, we have a significant trust fund balance. And I'm not comfortable with a 7%. I'm not comfortable bringing the rate increase up to the full 7% jump at this point. But we should probably consider the days of 0% or 1% increases to be over. Even with the 5% premium rate increase, we are anticipating a subsidy of at least $2 million to be used from the health insurance trust fund. And that's on the non-Medicare plan side. At this point, a projection for the health insurance trust fund balance at the end of the fiscal year, on June 30th, 2026, is about 6.7 million. That's a projection. And then the subsidy, the 2 million plus whatever that subsidy ends up being, would come out of that balance at the end of the year. Now, the town is self-insured. It's not part of a larger aggregation group. And historically, the town has been very fortunate to have excellent claim histories. We are seeing increased enrollment. We're seeing increased use of the plans. So we are seeing increased claims. All of the trust fund, the subsidies, all of the rates are based strictly on the claims data that we get on a monthly basis for the subscribers to the plan, which is only the town of Bourne. It's not an aggregate with anyone else. And I think that's fairly unique. I think that is a fairly unique aspect of Bourne. An expenditure placeholder is in this budget right now for Bourne Public Schools with an increase of 3.7%. And I'm happy, if you want to say anything about that, I'm happy to let you, but that's the placeholder that we have right now.
Sure, this placeholder is built on the staffing that we need next year because we're having an increase in our lower grades. So if you followed any of the school committee meetings, we've done a large undertaking the past 2 years and gaining a lot of input from faculty, from the community, to better use our facilities, because we know we have more little children than older children right now, but that's going to kind of trickle up, if that's a thing. So next year we'll actually have an additional integrated pre-K class, additional kindergarten, first, second, third, fifth, and a couple of special ed classes. So it's 8 new staff total due to the enrollment of Bourne residents. I do want to make that really clear. It's not because we're trying to get more school choice. We actually have this many children in the pipeline. So with that said, we're seeing that pre-pandemic enrollments are starting to come back. We had what we called a 7-track before, which means like 7 kindergarten homerooms. And we reduced down, we right-sized to a 6 over the past few years. just to make our budgets work. But now we're at the point where we have too many children for us to say, these are good class sizes. So we really want to break that down. So that's really, staffing is usually what's driving the budget. And that's really where that increase is coming with our regular COLA, which is 2% next year.
I'm also holding an overall increase for upper K Tech of a 5.34% for FY '27, with a net increase of 23 students from Bourne. And that is based on the information from the superintendent, and I'm happy to yield to you if you would like to add anything else to that.
Happy to, and I truly enjoy working with both you and Erica as we talk about the budget and look at it. I would suggest and share with you that Upper Cape Tech acts just as the town does, as a municipality, in that we have to cover the maintenance, the insurance, the snow removal, all of the heating costs, everything is built in. It's not just the students, it's all of it, wastewater, that's over and above. So the 5.3 in our conversations, we're actually not far off from the 3.7, about $68,000 is what that represents. But that's a global piece of including everything over and above, because our net school spending numbers are pretty close to almost nothing. So.
Thank you.
May I ask a question on that, please? So the 5.34%, is that for Bourne? Or do you split it with your other?
No, that's actually Erica and Marlene to put that up there. In our conversations, I'm basing it off of, and as we spoke, well, we really don't have the information yet because we don't have Chapter 70. We have no idea what the state aid will look like, what our transportation reimbursement will look like. So my budget right now to provide the town something so that they have something to base on, I use last year's numbers. So I hold it harmless, keep it at last year's state aid, break it down by the number of students, add in the 23 that are additional on top of that, plug those numbers in, and then base it off of this year's of what the needs are for the school as we see increases, whether it be wastewater, whether it be maintenance, whether it be whatever it might be, as you add in. So we had the discussion around trying to hold to the 3.7% increase. And we are certainly going to try to do that as we do each year. But I won't know any of that until we have House 1 and I actually know what our governor is going to be able to do to help the schools with state aid, along with transportation reimbursement.
Okay, and then if you find next year you have less or fewer than 23, what happens there?
Well, you can see a fluctuation of whether your assessment actually goes up or whether it actually goes down. I'll use Wareham as the town next to us actually went down because of their numbers decreasing. But again, that's based off of the town's ability to pay. That's a set piece that is set by the state, and purely the number of students that are actually enrolled by town.
Okay,
There's no percentage that can be established until we have all of the pieces.
okay,
Right,
okay,
So until that, we can tell you what the gross amount is, but the
sure,
net amount in the assessment to each community is based on all of those factors put together.
okay. I know I'm just a little bit stuck though, if there's, you anticipate 23 and you get, 18, what happens then?
Okay.
No, that's actually, the enrollment numbers are a year behind, so those students are already there. They're already in the school, so
From
it's
last
based off of,
October.
right, from last year. It's based off of October 1. The DOR actually does that, because we had Mrs. Cerruti last year in discussing that. DESE has one number, DOR will have another. That's based purely off of residency, and I have no control over any of that. I can argue until I'm blue in the face, and it's the numbers that they provide us.
Okay.
So, and I've had those discussions with Marlene and Erica as well. Yeah, we take their numbers as they provide it to us, but it's a year behind.
Okay,
Transportation reimbursement is a year behind as well.
okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about free cash and doing some deeper analysis into our use of free cash and the policy basis for how we use free cash. So the town, the town, has recently updated the financial management policy. They were adopted on June 11th, 2024. And page 8 has, some language about how the town shall strive to estimate revenue and recommend appropriations at a level that will generate free cash at fiscal year end. At fiscal year end, to equal approximately 3.5% of the town's prior year's general operating fund budget. So while we were working on the financial policies, and at the point in time when the financial policies were updated and voted, the Department of Revenue was using the same benchmark. The Department of Revenue guidance was also to maintain free cash reserves of about between 3 to 5% of the general fund operating budget. DOR has since changed their guidance, and they are recommending that cities and towns maintain a free cash reserve of 5 to 7% of the general fund operating budget. So again, in the spirit of conservatively estimating, Erica's job as a very good finance director is to encourage us to always take a conservative approach. However, I do want to acknowledge that there is some room for discussion and debate here. And I will outline that over the next few slides. So, okay. So the general fund operating budget for the current fiscal year, FY 26, is $81,945,965,000. Okay, so free cash is certified effective on the first day of the fiscal year, which is July 1st, 2025. The FY 26 certified free cash balance was just over $7.7 million. So if the town reserves 3% of that, you would reserve just over $2.4 million not to be used. 5% reserve would be just slightly over $4 million not to be used. At the fall 2025 town meeting, we used $692,000 of that amount of money. $368,000 was transferred into the capital stabilization fund. And $324,000 was used for capital expenditures. A local match for the FEMA grant for the fire department forestry vehicles, some updates to the vehicle exhaust system at fire stations 1 and 3, additional money for the community building soil cleanup project, and the replacement of the animal control vehicle. So when you subtract the $692,000 from the certified free cash number, it leaves a balance of just over $7 million. So that $7,077,261 is the remaining free cash balance in advance of May town meeting. So if you maintain a reserve of 3%, that leaves just over $4.6 million available for use. And if you maintain a reserve of 5%, you've got just under $3 million available to use. This is significantly different than the position from last year. So last year, going into May town meeting in 2024, we were able to maintain a reserve of 5.7% and spend $6.4 million, including significant capital improvements. However, the FY 25 certified free cash balance was much higher at $11 million. So there's a significant difference there. And this becomes critically important because we are not funding, we're losing that investment capacity in the operating budget. We are funding our capital program using free cash. We're not building those costs into the operating budget under the levy. So let's talk a little bit about what drives free cash, and this is again why we have a strong incentive to budget conservatively on the revenue side. So free cash is made up of new growth that was not budgeted. So when I say right now, the budget, it has $300,000 of free cash of anticipated on the revenue side. If we have to move that up to say $400,000 on the revenue side to balance the budget, that means we know if we move up that revenue target or that revenue estimate as a source of revenue, we know that we're using it in the operating budget and that we are not going to have that excess that is available for free cash. So free cash is based on new growth that was not budgeted. We have had to become more aggressive in budgeting new growth as revenue at the beginning to support operations. And it's the same process for local receipts. If we don't anticipate using the local receipts in the budget, if the money comes in above budget, then that helps build our free cash number. Over the past couple of years, we've had to become more aggressive to estimate the use of those local receipts to pay for the operating budget, to pay for the day-to-day expenses. Free cash is also comprised of funds that are turned back at the end of the year that were not spent by the departments. The department heads have been asked, and they are doing a very good job of really, truly budgeting for only what they need. We're not adding any extra. And we know that if we know we're budgeting very tightly and using the budget to provide the services, we're not going to have as large of turnbacks as we have possibly had in the past. For a few years, the town was able to use ARPA funds, more than $2 million in ARPA funds to help with one-time capital expenditures. So we no longer have, those ARPA funds are spent, they're no longer available. So whereas before we could have avoided using free cash or borrowing or other forms of local money and paid for those items with ARPA, we no longer have that opportunity right now. So we're working in an environment with a lot of uncertainty. It's hard to estimate costs in any sort of accurate manner. Sometimes costs are coming in all over the place. And we're facing the task of making complex trade-offs. Everyone here at the table is making very complex trade-offs. We all have the shared goal of providing the best services possible with the existing resources, but the question becomes, what are the highest priority services and where should we be focusing on our resources? And do we need to cut back on operations to build investment capacity so we can support the borrowing? And if so, how much and where? So those are all of the questions and trade-offs that we're going to have to discuss and debate. So free cash is used for a number of things. So in anticipation of Maytown meeting, where is it gonna go? It's a lot of money, and what do we use it for? So from the policy, again, the local policy on page 28, as a general rule, free cash will be limited to funding non-recurring operating capital budget expenditures. That is an important piece. We don't want to use free cash for things that we know are going to become ongoing expenses. So transfers to stabilization funds, funding of unfunded liabilities, and extraordinary or unforeseen. These are, by policy, this is kind of the acceptable uses of free cash. So when you see the warrant articles for OPEB transfers, that comes from free cash. So we expect to transfer $250,000. That's the policy minimum from free cash into OPEB in May. That's one of the uses where we're anticipating Maytown meeting to vote. We typically, as part of Article 1, have $100,000 in free cash used for compensated absences to pay for retirement, where we might have throughout the year where vacation time needs to be paid out or sick time needs to be paid out under a contract. We routinely have an article using free cash transfer for the Human Services Grant Program. Last town meeting, May 5th of 2025, it was $40,000. And in speaking with the Council on Aging Director, she anticipates asking for $40,000 again. The money was quickly used. Previously, it had been $20,000, but last year we doubled that. So that's a regular use of free cash at town meeting. Last year, we had an article to use free cash to fund an article for equipment of less than $25,000. So we put $50,000 in an article, and that so far has been used to purchase a sidewalk snowplow and a lawnmower for the DPW. We've also programmed funds to make concrete repairs to the bleachers at Keith Field. And we've programmed funds from that article to upgrade the AV equipment in room 2 in the community building. So that was a free cash article that set some money aside for smaller purchases. We're anticipating a transfer to the general stabilization fund from free cash of $200,000. And one thing that we'll talk about more is in a minute are these last 2 bullet points. Do we want to make a free cash transfer of $1.7 million into the capital stabilization fund? We have a policy of maintaining a balance of at least 3 years of debt service in that stabilization fund. And we recently used that money at the January 6th, 2025 special town meeting to purchase the property at 171 Clay Pond Road for the fire station. So do we want to replace that? Do we want to replace it all at once or over multiple years? So that's a point for discussion. And then there will be a discussion about use of free cash for capital projects for department. So some questions for people to consider. Does the select board want to have a discussion about reserving less than 5% of the certified free cash. Do you want to have a discussion about reducing that reserve, that free cash reserve to 4% or to the minimum of 3%? And what does that mean? What does that look like? As I mentioned, the capital stabilization fund was used to purchase the 171 Clay Pond Road property. Do you want to replenish that in a single year? Do you want to replenish that over multiple years? And does the select board want to have a discussion and explore making operational cuts?
Massacre, killing in all 15 people.
One moment, sorry. Oh. So we have a need to rebuild that investment capacity and operating. How do we want to do that? That's the question for discussion. Erica and I are getting uncomfortable with relying so heavily on the capital stabilization fund. But I truly do understand that these are hard trade-offs. These are hard questions and what gets cut so we can rebuild that.
I've been public about that for a long time. And she contradicts the president's claim Bill Clinton is an eject.
Sorry. The joys of Zoom. Okay, so
As the article, calling it a disingenuously framed hit piece on me and the finest president, White House staff.
now that I'm totally derailed. So throughout this year's budget process, I am going to attempt as much as I can to outline scenarios for debate and for discussion with a menu of choices, because there is no right answer to any of what we're doing here. We need to make decisions based on what the collective group feels is best for the community. That's the goal. So there's no right answer. It's what is most important to you to achieve using your money. So for capital projects, based on the previous slide, I have an assumption here that $2.3 million of free cash will be used for transfers and non-capital project uses. So that includes policy direction that you replenish the capital stabilization fund by $1.7 million, all in the next fiscal year. That $1.7 million is built into that 2.8. And then it's the minimum OPEB, it's $20,000 instead of $40,000 for human services. So this is the give and take. These are the priorities that there's debate and discussion about. And the chart and the schedule below is based on that assumption. So if that assumption is not $2.3 million to be transferred, if you take only half of the capital stabilization money, that would change that assumption. So I just want to be clear that things will shift depending on where you land with your priorities for these assumptions. So if that $2.3 million is taken off the table, what's left for capital projects? If you want to maintain a 5% reserve, there's about $659,000 left for capital projects. 4% reserve, about $1.5 million, a 3% reserve, about $2.2 million. So those are the menus, those are the scenarios that my goal is to build, to show what the trade-offs are. This is the amount of money we have, and these are different ways you can choose to use it. There's a menu of choices here. depending on what you prioritize to accomplish. So the capital outlay committee did meet, and they will meet again probably a couple of times between, before town meeting, because we do have a number of this is gonna need to take some work. We're gonna have to have multiple discussions here. So the capital outlay committee received department requests, $250,000 from the waterway fund, $732,000 from sewer enterprise borrowing, just over 14 million from iSwim enterprise, a combination of use of retained earnings and borrowing. At least $677,000 of anticipated CPA funding that doesn't include one project that we're still waiting on estimates for. The CPA application round is not open yet, so no one has officially applied yet. But we are anticipating that round, and we are preparing those applications for town-sponsored projects. The Sagamore Beach ramp, a town hall envelope design, hardcourt reconstruction, and shade structures at the community building. And the remaining projects, were just over $3.6 million from free cash and or a combination of borrowing. However, these projects generally, we would not recommend borrowing. They were a lot of vehicles and things that just didn't have the life expectancy to comfortably recommend borrowing. So after the capital outlay committee discussed, they chose their priorities based on the assumptions at this point in time. And their priorities for funding are police vehicles to some extent, the police record management system, firefighter gear, replacement of car 4 for the fire department, school security upgrades and school window security, the design for the replacement of the Singing Bridge. We do anticipate that DPW will be submitting a request to use Chapter 90 funds for half of that bridge design. So we would be looking at half of it to be paid for from free cash. The town hall envelope project, if it is not successfully funded by the CPA, however, it will be submitted to the CPA, so we'll wait and see. Hopefully that will be funded through CPA and GIS mapping. So at this point in time, that's where the capital outlay priorities stand. Some additional areas to preview for FY 27 that I just want to note and have people think about is I anticipate setting the reserve fund to be level funded at $250,000. The long-term model assumes that the reserve fund is funded at $350,000. The reserve fund was at $250 for FY 26. I don't think we have used it yet this year. One of the things that we are consciously and mindfully trying to do is, as the departments, we are trying to figure out what we need and budget for it, so we don't have these unexpected or obviously emergencies will happen, and no one's afraid to come to the finance committee to use the reserve fund, but we are trying to very hard to only make it for emergencies and not because we just forgot something. We're carrying a 5% increase for liability insurance, which matches the long-term assumption, the long-term model assumption. We were slightly under 5% for FY 26. So this is an area where we might be a little bit more conservative, but it has been trending at a 5% increase for like a number of years. We are seeing just some increased costs of doing business We're gonna see those especially for IT services, internet, utilities, postage, phones, copiers, items like that. One of the things that's gonna be a little bit difficult for comparison purposes for FY 27 is this is the year that facilities is gonna be moved from the general government function area to the DPW function area. This is gonna be moved from the 100s to the 400s. So it's not going to, we're not going to be easily or cleanly able to compare 100s and 400s for this particular year. Going forward it'll be fine again, but this transition year, it's hard to compare when we move things between functional classes. One of the things when I present the TA proposed budget on January 6th that I will be talking to you in detail is I will be explaining to you all of the requests that the departments have submitted as part of their budgets to me that I'm saying no to. So I think it's important to be very clear about that there are a lot of requests for additional resources and new initiatives that the departments feel are necessary and want to provide. But we just can't fit it in the budget. So I will spend some time on January 6th showing and talking about all of the things that we wish we could put in this budget that are not in the budget, because I don't want anyone to think that there aren't other things that we want to be doing. There are things we want to be doing, but we are all mindful and well aware that we have constrained resources. So that's the preview for FY 27. There's a lot to talk about this year. I will get you that I will get you that proposal a week early, so we do have more time to talk with the select board. Hopefully we'll have the retirement board number in it, because if it doesn't, it's really not useful. But that's what I can preview at this point. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Marlene. I guess I'll go around to the select boards if they have any questions or comments. I watched the capital outlay committee meeting, so I had a lot of my
Part two, prior to part one.
Yeah, oh, you did, I started that.
It was in two parts, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I had a lot of my questions that I would need for tonight were answered there for now, anyhow. MJ?
I did the same, I didn't want that was.
Yeah, I think we'll have more discussion on January 6th as we get more definitive direction and, numbers.
Yes, absolutely.
MJ?
I just have a question about OPEB. So, we had put OPEB into the operating budget, and it was more than the 250,000 in the budget. Is it still 250,000 in the budget? And so therefore, the budget is covering.
Technically, the budget is.
The budget is, I mean, that was
Yes.
one of the discussions we had.
Yes.
We now we're at a point where the budget was covering it, so if we can't do OPEB with free cash, then we're covered with our policy in the budget. I just wanted to confirm.
Yes, that is accurate. The operating budget is covering the minimum 250. So it's a choice. It's a a trade-off. If you don't want to add more from free cash, you won't be out of policy compliance.
The other thing I think is the whole concept of this financial policy that we have for increasing the capital expenditure within the budget to 7%. I mean, it's a dream, but
Yeah, it's aspirational.
well, I mean, I think we have a goal for discussing this year, capital and long-term capital and how we fund it. And I think it's difficult to say, well, last year we spent $4 million on capital, but this year we can only spend 600,000. So
Right.
we need to be able to get ourselves so that we're understanding the flow with the long term and what we're gonna do. And I think we're in a good a good place to do that now, because we need to visualize how we're gonna do what we have to do within the budget for capital.
Yes,
And how we're gonna use the capital stabilization,
Yes.
and so the capital stabilization, using that for the debt service. Was a big part of moving from a capital plan that was based primarily on borrowing. With 100,000 or so, or 200,000 of free cash, to a pay-as-you-go capital, and I think there's someplace in between. I think we have to find, I think we have to find like, how do we
is one of our
supplement with
goals,
borrowing,
to-
how do we supplement? So I think this is really good to like sort of lay out the whole picture, because there's a lot of moving parts in it, and to help us understand that. And I think we'll have some good discussions about how we're doing what we're doing and how to make sure that we.
yeah, there's some adjusting.
And I think figuring out how we're gonna deal with the capital stabilization, because we do get money into it every year from ISWAM. What's our goal for it? How are we gonna do it? And do we have to put it all back in 1 year? And I'm not in favor of that. So I'm in favor of having a plan to figure out how we're gonna use it. So I think we have some things to talk about. Just lots of fun.
There are definitely, things to talk about. There are options, there are options.
The good news is we're in a good place. I mean, really.
It really, I mean, I don't want anyone to take this as gloom and doom, because it's not. I mean, the town of Bourne is actually in a very good financial position, especially with things like healthcare, I mean, and trash pickup. Like, we don't even have to worry about budgeting for trash pickup, where a lot of towns are budgeting 20% increases for trash pickup. That's just a non-issue here. So in many ways, we are extremely fortunate.
Right, and the GIC is in.
Oh, I don't, yeah.
If we were in the GIC, we'd be having a totally different discussion, so.
But we do have some exposure because our retired teachers are the
Yes.
GIC,
Yes,
so
Yes.
we're not totally
Yes.
insulated from it.
All right, thank you. Does anyone in the school committees or anyone in the public want to have any comments or thoughts before we move on to the next and adjourn this session?
Motion to adjourn joint meeting.
Okay, do I have a second? All right, a motion from Anne Marie, second from Jean. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jeff, you have not on,
Okay.
so moved. We are adjourned.
No, we're.
Joint meeting is, we don't need a roll call. Is Peter up there?
Yes.
Oh, Peter, you are up there. So you do, excuse me, I have to do a roll call vote. I do see Peter up top.
There he is.
Okay, so, hold on. Not in front of me, hiding on me. Okay, so Peter,
Yes.
MJ,
Yeah.
Jean. Yeah. Anne Marie.
Yes.
Melissa, yeah. Okay. So we can, good. Thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you.
First, I guess I'll get it started right away. So first I need to, report out on executive session. Let's see. So the board received an update from town council about the, Henry Gear's appeal. And the select board also directed town council to send correspondence, to the previous owner for Coastal Motors. And, we had a discussion, regarding the contracts, but that is a public vote that's scheduled for open session very shortly. So we're all set there. So that is my report out on that. And, number 5 is, I don't believe we have any, but I will say it anyhow, in case anyone online may want to. Public comments are, on non-agenda items. Public comments are allowed for up to 12 minutes, total of 12 minutes at the beginning of each meeting. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes per comment. Board members are unable to respond due to the posting requirements of the open meeting law, as long as it's an agenda items. We have any non-agenda items talk on the scene. I'm hearing none. I will move on. Our next item on the agenda is a continued public hearing It's a poll petition of Verizon to the town of Bourne for the placement of a new jointly owned pole on the east side of Lincoln Avenue. We did receive a request to withdraw without prejudice by the applicant.
Mhm.
So therefore, we will be moving on to the next agenda. item. Correct, we need to do nothing with that,
Correct.
okay? So the next discussion is the septic system easement granted from One Monument Way, Article 28 from the May 6th, 2024 annual town meeting.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
so Caitlin Shea from the Board of Health, Matt Zwicky from the DPW, Town Council and I have been working with the property owner of One Monument Way. And we have in the board's packet, a grant of easement that that was prepared by Town Council and that is also acceptable to the property owner, along with the exhibit plan showing the easement area. This, as you may recall, this property needs to replace an old failed step pool system and they are replacing it with a new advanced IA system. However, they cannot fit it entirely on their property and a town meeting easement was granted for them to use part of the road layout for their septic system area. So I am happy to report that we can recommend that the board approve the easement language as presented in your materials.
All right, thank you. Yes, I do remember this one very well. Do we have any discussion? Anyone wanna say anything? Anything from the board? All right, do we have a motion to?
Make a motion to approve the, easement as presented.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion from MJ, a second from Anne Marie. Do we have any further discussion on this matter? Okay, hearing none, do a roll call vote. Peter is on Zoom. Anne Marie?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, I got you. I heard you. Perfect. MJ?
Yeah.
Melissa? Yes. Okay, it's unanimous. And next we have number 8 is a discussion regarding special legislation liquor license for Potomac Fish, Article 13 from the October 2025 special town meeting. Marlene, do I have you start on this one or?
I'm happy to defer if there's someone here on behalf of Katana Fish.
Are they here online?
Patrick Ross.
Oh, I see Patrick up there. Okay, Patrick, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything to say. It received approval from town meeting, so I'm not sure what I'm not sure what we need to I'm not sure what we're here for, honestly. I think it now goes to the State House.
Right, so we would be here today to direct, if the board so desires, we would be directing the town administrator to send special legislation to the State House, yes. But we would want to hear from anyone who's present to speak on that as well, so why don't I give anyone the floor that is here for that? If the board has nothing to add? MJ, Anne Marie?
I actually did not vote in the affirmative for this article.
Yes.
I feel as though access to alcohol and liquor with 9 licenses in a town of our size is more than enough. I don't think there is an accessibility issue. I don't see a need for additional access to liquor in the town. And that was the reason why I voted in not in the affirmative. So I would not recommend and not support from the sort of legislator, enacting legislature.
MJ?
Oh, I think that there was a private petition that was presented to town meeting, requesting that there be special legislation for, this license, and town meeting overwhelmingly approved it.
Well, it's to authorize the board.
Yeah, the legislation itself does not grant the license. The legislation only allows the select board to hold a hearing on the special legislation, license. I think, whether or not the select board would grant the license is a separate issue. I do think, since we do know that MB Spirits has filed a lawsuit, and that license will be tied up for a while. I also felt, when this was discussed before, this license was discussed and granted before by the select board, that this license in particular was more in line with the special legislation licenses that had previously been granted in the town of Bourne, that allows alcohol to be something that helps small businesses sustain themselves in the seasonal nature of the community. So I would go with the vote of town meeting, and I would request that the town administrator, that the select board request the special legislation. That's my position.
I agree with what MJ said. I think at this point we should move forward and we can discuss other issues at the proper time.
Okay, Peter?
I agree with the previous two speakers that, a town meeting vote overwhelmingly that they want this to go forward for special legislation, so I would support it.
Okay, I think for myself, I was, with, Anne Marie, I did not, vote to have this go, because I had, my reasoning was a little bit different, that I had thought that we did have a license that was available, and we knew it would take some time, but we were hoping to go that route. But I do feel that maybe with the town meeting, and the vote on that, I guess at this point, I would also support it, as we don't know what's gonna happen, only for that reason. Otherwise, I did vote in affirmative not to prior, and at this point, the town meeting would say so. So that's where I'm at, but I will allow our, we have some folks here that want to speak as well, so I'll open the floor to, I'm allowed to do that, and let you speak as well, if you're here.
Yes, hi, I'm Paula Miller. I'm the owner of the Courtyard Restaurant along with my husband Jay. And we've been there for 34 years as a small business, and we are clear that we are very supportive of small business. We're supportive of growth. We're supportive, we feel that business brings business. However, we have a misunderstanding of why we would be moving forward to a legislative license if a property has not been properly looked at as a change of use. A major change of use of this property really is not conducive. It's a pedestrian safety primary is our concern, with the crossover of traffic and people walking from our parking lot over to the Tonic Fish. When there's literally 3 to 4 regular parking spaces along with a handicap parking space. In the summertime, obviously, that is not sufficient for the fish market, but however, we've been fine dealing with that overflow traffic for 34 years. However, adding an additional business to this site is honestly, I don't even understand how you could possibly add a package store to the site. So, and I would also like to address the statement in the Bourne Enterprise, which of course wrote that feel like a smear campaign to say that we're anti-small business, never called us for comment. But however, in that article, it was stated that the owner of Tonic Fish put additional parking and it was created alongside the building. My understanding based on experience operating a business in Bourne, is that adding parking spaces requires site plan approval. And additionally, there should be clarity regarding how many approved parking spaces actually exist on the property, which would appear to be limited to the 3 or 4 spaces in front. It's just, this proposal seems to be moving forward without a zoning board review, a site plan review, or a formal traffic and safety analysis. Like I said, again, this is purely, public safety, and pedestrian safety walking. We have 18-wheel trucks are backed off lines with their property line. And we have 18-wheel trucks that are maneuvering and backing up, all from the lawn. And then you have people parking, saying, I can't get into this parking lot, so I'm gonna park in the courtyard parking lot, and they're walking over. There's just some pictures, so people that don't really know what the property is and how close and how narrow his lot is. I mean, it truly is a concern, and the safety, and it really is a safety issue. And then also in the bylaws, if there is a, change of use, it has to go before the planning board, that's under the planning board, and it's 1233, are just requirements, site plan and special permit approval. So to me, to go through all this with the legislature before you even make sure that the steps are taken and make sure that this liquor license would even be approved for that site, doesn't really make much sense. But he is changing his existing business, or he's actually adding to an existing business, which that much more says that there should be a process of, having to go before the planning board for site plan approval, traffic study, and pedestrian safety. And, so respectfully, I'm asking the board to consider whether this application is premature.
Peter, I see your hand is up, or do you have something to add?
Yes, I'm sorry. This issue, this article, since this past town meeting, is going to the state legislature for review, and at that time, it's assigned to the Attorney General's office, and the lady that does this, been doing it for years. If there's any compliance issues or any technical issues, and this article cannot go forward, she will let the town clerk know in a timely fashion, or if they need more time to evaluate this. So if there's any issues with the legality of this article going forward, we will know soon enough.
Well, I mean, I do want to make it clear that, if this is pushed through, and there is something that happens to a pedestrian, who's liable for that? And honestly, between my property, his property, and the town, I mean, we're taking a risk with safety issues, because traffic flow is certainly a problem if we're going to increase. This is a package store, an in and out traffic. This is, I mean, this could put tremendous stress on both properties, and definitely cause the traffic flow and actually dangerous circumstances. So I think that it's important that the town looks at and realizes that it could turn into a major liability issue. And whose liability that is, I'm not sure.
So the issues that are being raised as a concern are issues for the public hearing on the approval of the alcoholic license at the time. They are not related to the special legislation, which does not grant the license. And if you read the article in the Bourne Enterprise that incorrectly stated that the license would be issued,
Thank you.
Yes.
I did call the reporter, and I did say that that was incorrect, that the license would not be automatically issued. So this is a multi-step process, and I will say that when this license was discussed before, when it was prior given, there were concerns raised at the select board meeting about parking. And there were limitations put on the license that only provided a very small square footage of the store to be for alcohol. And there was very specific limitations put that this was to complement the business, to be like a little add-on sale and not to be a full package store and that the full 2,500 square feet of the building was not being granted a license for alcohol. So it could be stored there, but the retail part of it was very limited. So
That was the previous.
that was the previous limitation, and that is a limitation that I would want to put on.
Can you legally
So-
condition on that?
Yeah, we can condition it.
So we can put conditions on the license, so this is a multi-step process. If in fact, legislation goes to the legislature and gets passed as special legislation, it is only giving the authority for the board then to consider a license. It will not grant the license. So for that reason, because town meeting voted for it, yeah, I would say, and because there was a lot of support for it the last time we went through this hearing process, I would say that I support going for the special legislation and for then going through the process that allows the select board to make a determination through a public hearing process as to whether the license is appropriate at that location.
Thank you, MJ. I
May I
think
say
that-
something for the record? My name is Jay Miller, owner of 35 years of my wife. The Enterprise came out with a very disturbing article about rescinding our agreement to have a liquor license. We were all for it from day one. We're used, we want somebody to do well. We're not trying to bother us or not. But I would like somebody, I know I'm doing, it's an open forum, but they never contacted us to say we rescinded. We sent a letter saying we would like it. He's a good neighbor, no question, he's a good neighbor. We're just worried about the concerns of that safety, but then it all of a sudden comes out the mill has rescinded it. We never rescinded it, ever. So the Enterprise better get it.
No, I said a letter, we
Sent a letter.
changed our, because
Format.
it changed into a wine and beer license to a full
Format.
package store license, which we certainly don't feel would ever be appropriate at that point. So that is, where our major concern is, and as long as we know that now that it's clarified properly, and maybe I should have got it clarified instead of reading the article, I probably wouldn't be sitting here on Tuesday night right now.
MJ, thank you for that.
I have anything. Okay, true. And, the other thing is, I'm glad I'm not, thank you, sir, for hearing this out. Good luck. It's good, very, 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 good luck to it. But the other thing I want to also say, I am just, thank God, I've been 20 years since I've had to sit in front of this board. No violations at all. Thank you, folks.
Thank you for coming. So, okay, so, like I said, I think that was what it is for me too, this isn't granting the license, we're taking town meetings, of what town meeting had, and I'm okay with that, and if it's coming back for us to be able to take a second.
And the final decision rests on the
Rests
board.
on-
Rest on the board,
And they
and
would be
whatever conditions the
with
board might.
your-
The conditions that we may apply.
If the. Okay, great, thank you, have a wonderful night, thanks.
All right, so do we have a motion to authorize the town administrator to,
Submit the
submit
special
the,
legislation
Thank you,
language as
Madam Chair.
presented. And work with town council with us.
so we have a motion from MJ.
Second.
Second. Is that the motion? Yes?
Yes.
Okay,
And,
second.
and you make a very valid point, too.
Yeah, no, thank you. I couldn't have said it better.
No, you do, it's the understanding, yeah.
So, all right, so we have a motion from MJ, a second from Jean. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Okay, roll call vote. Anne Marie.
Yeah.
Jean.
Yes.
Peter.
Yes.
MJ.
Yes.
Melissa. 5. All right, let's do it. All right, we're moving through, doing all right here. So, number 9 is our first reading draft shellfish regulations prepared by DNR and Shore and Harbor Committee. So we did hear from them recently. I'll let you-
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, select board members. Hannah Warren, for Natural Resources. There are a few different, proposed changes that we have in the regulations. So these are, applicable to the general regulations, they're in, the recreational booklet as well as the commercial, booklet. So, first, just some changes, to reflect proper dates, which we found on the first page.
Yep.
And then, the next, proposed change in 1.8 was the removal of beach grass to include, seagrasses. So, the removal of any grasses, including eelgrass and other protected bottom vegetation, or peat for the purposes of harvesting shellfish shall be prohibited. Again, that addition, was to remove eelgrass. And then the second proposed change was in, 1.9 in the allowable harvest hours. And that was to update the, dates to reflect, daylight savings and hours, and shellfishing, is allowed. So those are the proposed regulations for both, commercial and recreational, and that's found in the general regulations section.
Okay, so I'm gonna revert to the board first and let them, make their comments or their thoughts on this. Start with MJ maybe down the end, if that's okay?
No, it's
Put you on the spot, put you on the spot.
Yeah, so, we did have someone from the public speak at our last meeting about concerns, and, I did what I always do, I did a bunch of research. So, the Roger Williams University did, a study about, shellfishing, and it was very interesting. The language for removal of eelgrass is kind of interesting to me. I don't know if raking is considered removal of eelgrass, and I didn't get this until tonight, so I couldn't. Just bull rake caused significant damage to the eelgrass vegetation, but one thing that they did talk about, which is still in our regulations, has to do with the use of jet propulsion and like whatever. And so the Roger Williams University document said that the town of Bourne and the town of Barnstable were the only towns on Cape that allowed that method. And that's still in our regulations. And so that is a point of discussion. I was curious about whether we have, because in this Commonwealth of Massachusetts Division of Fisheries, there's a lot of talk about mapping the eelgrass. And I'm concerned about having something that says you can't remove eelgrass without having the documentation of the mapping of the eelgrass so that it's clear where it's allowed and where it isn't allowed. But there's also a lot of documentation that actually using light rakes in eelgrass for shellfishing is not that damaging. And there's a difference between the removal of the salt marsh, which is very long time building and really difficult to rebuild, than with the eelgrass, which the shellfishing in the eelgrass is not usually. So adding the eelgrass, which is not necessarily that difficult to bring back, is to that same language, I'm a little bit unsure about. So it wasn't really clear. I tried to reach out to Mr. Silverman to get a little bit more discussion about exactly what his concerns are. I want to make sure we do the right thing, but I don't want to go overboard if it's detrimental to the commercial fishery and the people that are trying to do it, because the shellfish are in the eelgrass. So.
Right, yeah, and I still wanna dive a little deeper into the eelgrass language as well. I think perhaps maybe that there might be, maybe it shouldn't be lumped in with it all in the same language, and maybe we should just take a deeper dive into it. I know that there are some time constraints here with approvals on this, on this. If the board, wants to have more time with it, but with the time constraint, maybe perhaps we can take out that language right now and just strike it for now, saying, and have more conversation about it later and just get approval of the dates that you need in order to continue to operate in a timely fashion. And I don't know how the board feels about that, but I think we do need to listen more to the public as well and how it's going to impact the commercial fishermen and I think we need a little bit more time, and I think we need to really have, maybe some better language instead of just blanketing it as don't remove the ORAD.
Sure.
Cause there is a lot of research out there, and like MJ, I'm just diving into it too.
Sure.
And reading along, so I don't know how the board feels about that.
I'm totally comfortable with that. Yeah, striking.
Yeah. Peter, how about you? What's your thoughts here?
I agree with all what you're all saying. I think we need to take more time, and I don't mind going with what MJ and Anne Marie are saying about removing the eelgrass language and come back after we have some more discussion about it. I think what the commercial fishermen said at the last meeting resonated with me, and I think we need to do a little more research on it, because what we approve we have to live with. So I don't want to approve a document if we still need to do some more works, or at least take out the provisions that we still need to work on.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, and I agree 100%, and my recommendation and my thought was to strike the language until we have more information and actually would even know. I said, I come from a family of commercial shellfishermen, and this could really hurt the industry in many ways. So if we're making a big decision like that impacts people's lives in our community, I'd much rather we strike it so that we can get these approved, the dates and all of that things, and then take a second look at it later on. Do we have I know we have some public here. I know you're both here for this this agenda item. Please go ahead and speak.
This.
Sure.
Just to give you a little context, I see that you're gonna say no, but I'd still like you to have
Sure,
some.
no, it's great. All information is worthy.
And again, I appreciate you doing the research. I didn't see the Rodney Williams thing. I've read everything the state of Mass has on it. And, I actually met with GMF 2 Fridays ago for 4 hours. And they're not on our side. They are crafting a law against hydraulic dredging in eelgrass, which is much like what you were saying about the jet pumps is what we called them back in the old days when we were allowed to jet pump in the town to blow clams up out of the bottom. And that should be struck from our rules. Little Buttermilk Bay was ruined by that practice. I was one of the ones doing it, but I didn't realize what the ramifications of what we were doing. There are no clams there now, and there probably never will be. And that's from all the sediment that it stirred up.
Yeah.
And that's just the regulations.
Yeah, and also now to the eelgrass thing, I'd like you to read this real quick, and then I'll talk to you again in a second.
Andy, did you want to add anything while you're here?
Yes, my name's Dave, he's third generation inshore fisherman here in Bourne. The rationale of the Shore and Harbor Committee was that they were just abiding by state law. That was the rationale behind them keeping us out of the eelgrass. And I would just like to show my correspondence with Jared Silva that I had with him. And Jared Silva is a senior policy analysis of the Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries.
He's actually the one crafting the law on hydraulic dredging in the big boats.
He has no idea what Shore and Harbors was talking about. On both the fishing in the eelgrass and also the changing the moorings in the eelgrass. He stated that the changing of the moorings in the eelgrass was just a suggestion. It was not gonna be a law. Where DNR got it from, maybe they were confused with the hydraulic dredging for the ocean cohogs. That's the only thing I can think of. I'm sure they wouldn't be very vindictive to people trying to make a living.
And Bruce, for the record, could you just state your name and because I didn't ask.
Bruce
you that.
Silverbrand, 18 Bayberry Road, commercial fisherman here for 36 years, about to be 37.
Thank you, just for the record and for the.
So that little article I gave you was brought to me by Tommy Barlow, because in 1983, they tried to throw commercial fishermen out of the eelgrass. That's where that article, he only mentions seagrass once in there, but that's why the guy came down and talked to him and the article was written. Now, Tommy told me that in the Town Historical Society archives is a letter from President Grover Cleveland to the selectmen of our town, 130 years, more than 130 years ago, when he had his building over there in Gray Gables, and summer there is considered the de facto summer White House. He wrote a letter to the selectmen asking them to throw the shellfishermen out of the Monument River at Agawam Point, right where I'm fishing, 130 years ago, because they were destroying the eelgrass and causing erosion of the riverbanks. And here I am fishing in the same eelgrass 130 years later. So, I mean, really, this is a non-issue. This is because those wealthy residents don't want us there. That's all this is. And I'm ashamed that whoever's doing this in the town structure is letting the town, some two people that have nothing to do with any of this, tell us what we're gonna be doing. They're making decisions for how I make my living. I don't, I'm not sure what's going on, but, we can't allow this kind of thing to go on. We're hardworking folks. I work within the rules, and now all of a sudden you want to change the rules. Like I said, 130 years. Like I said before, 36 years, I've been fishing eelgrass, not exclusively, but it's still there. So, I agree with your decision. We should put it off, and I think we should do the eelgrass test. And I was told by one of the officers that the town had no money to do it. It's not gonna cost anything. It's 4 marker balls, and I'm sure Andrew and myself will donate our time to go out and rake it clean. Let it sit and see what happens. I already know what's gonna happen. But I think that will just be the proof to the pudding and that put this to bed permanently.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment.
And I just-
Absolutely.
yeah,
Please,
I think-
the court.
So, the proposal of this regulation, came from trying to be consistent with conservation regulations. So they have a regulation that strictly prohibits the destruction of eelgrass beds. And they, put a lot of restrictions on the folks that are, applying for and putting in chapter 91 structures. So that is our goal is that we want to be consistent throughout the town, not just DNR, but also with the conservation regulations. So, that is our goal is, we can't enforce their regulations that are prohibiting one thing, but then we're allowing something else. So that was our, idea of including this in our regs.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Thank you for the follow-up and the clarification there. And Jacob, something?
I just say, I think we have to continue the conversation on the eelgrass and destruction of eelgrass. What does that mean? Where is it eelgrass? Where do we consider? I think it's a good I think it's a great that you brought it up, that we're having a conversation. I just think we need to discuss a little bit more. And then we also have to discuss this section 5.2. Clams may be harvested by means of plunger or jet pump manifold, which must not exceed. That's something that we really need to discuss in our regulations as to whether or not that should be appropriate to be in there.
Go ahead, Alden.
And as to the change in the regulations, I think what should be added in there is the use of chain rakes. If you're worried about eelgrass, the reason we don't kill the eelgrass when we go on is we don't dig deep enough to dig the roots up. The roots come back, we aerate the bottom, the roots come back up and it comes back. If you use a chain rake, they dig a lot deeper and they do permanent damage. I know a guy that used to chain rake in town, and a lot of the places he fished, there's not even cohogs there anymore, 20 years later. And to that fact, we definitely need to change it. And I'd also like to, I'm sure I probably would have to be voted in, but we should put a shellfishman on the Shore and Harbor Committee. I can't understand why there isn't one. I guess my fault. I should have been paying more attention. But we should definitely do that because the decisions being made are affecting our lives. So, okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
All right, so do we have a motion to approve the shellfish regulations, less restricted, section on the EOR?
Sure, except the changes to section one point
We have the
eight.
changes to, yes, thank
In
you. Thank you
both
for being-
regulations, except changes.
All right, so we have a motion from MJ, second from Anne Marie. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call vote, Anne Marie,
Yes.
Jean, yes, Peter,
Yes.
he's frozen, I think.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
there we go.
okay. Thought you were frozen for a minute. Melissa, yes, okay. Unanimous, it's approved, and we can have one conversation how we can protect the yoga. I like that.
Thank you very much.
Because I do love yoga. Don't get me wrong. Step when you step on. With bare feet. Okay. All right, where's my agenda? I didn't move on. Thank you.
Iceland Building.
So next we have the Iceland Building Committee Designer Recommendation for Transfer Station. I'm gonna give this to you, Marlene. Oh, no, wait a minute. It's a possible vote to, authorize into negotiations for the design and contract. Okay, Lisa, thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, yes.
Great. For the record, Asa Mintz, Iceland Operations Manager, Chair of the Iceland Building Committee. As you know, we're starting the design of our transfer station. We're on the search for a designer of that building. In early November, we put out an RFQ for designer services. November 25th, we've got 2 applications, one from Weston and Sampson, one from Green Seal Environmental. And we interviewed both of those candidates and just this evening actually, and we've made a recommendation. Both are very qualified candidates. Green Seal's a little bit of a smaller firm, Weston and Sampson's a little bit of a bigger firm. But ultimately what it came down to for the committee was experience in Chapter 149. Weston and Sampson just had far more experience in Chapter 149, and we just felt more comfortable, given our timelines, that they were going to get us through the project at the pace we needed to and on the timeline we needed to. So with that being said, the committee voted unanimously to recommend the select board that we select Weston and Sampson as our designer. And Green Seal is a follow-up. And hopefully Marlene can negotiate a contract with them so we can move forward.
Wonderful, thank you, Asa. Do we have any comments from the board, or are we ready for a motion on this one?
I have a question.
Sure, go right ahead.
What division of Weston and Sampson is this? So Weston and Sampson is a
What
huge
division
firm,
is that?
so,
Yeah, they're huge.
yeah, so the different divisions have different people. Who is that engineer? Who are the designers, the engineers? Who did you interview?
Michael Richard is the project lead on that. And Lee Koska is the engineer under him, and then they've got a whole team under there. But Mike Richard is the lead on that. We've worked with Mike before. They actually did the feasibility studies for us, so we're familiar with working with them.
I did through the chair.
Go ahead, Peter.
As a member on that committee, I did explain some our experiences, good and challenging, with Weston and Sampson, because MJ knows what we went through with the wastewater design building committee. But with the DPW, it was amazing what Jeff Alberti did. So it was a mixed bag on my part, but the committee did do its diligence, and Asa can back me up. We went through each applicant and explained in detail why and why not of each one. And in the end, we guess, as you said, Chapter 149, design build was a big issue with the board, with Green Seal Environmental not having answered that question successfully at all. In fact, we were shocked with the answer that we got. But it really set some of the members back. And I was defending Green Seal to some extent, But in the end, we had to look at the bigger picture, and the committee alternately unanimously voted for Weston and Sampson. We would have, in my opinion, we would have been fine with either one of them, but it's just that with the time frame and the learning curve, we just felt that, or the board felt that Weston and Sampson was the better choice at this time.
Thank you, Peter. Okay.
I'll just follow up. I do agree with Peter that we've had really positive experience with Weston Sampson, but we've also had the Buzzards Bay Park is that was a difficult situation. So I'm glad to hear that you had good interviews and good people that you feel are pretty good leads for the job. Thank you.
With motion to enter into negotiations for the design and contract.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Motion from Anne Marie. Do we have a second?
Peter, press second.
Oh, Peter, okay, did he in there? Peter, any further discussion? Hearing none. Anne Marie?
Yes.
Jean? Yes. Peter?
Yes.
MJ?
Yes.
Melissa, yes. All right, it's unanimous. Good luck.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, all right, moving on. We have the consent agenda. I'm not reading all these renewals, correct, because they're in the packet.
No, you don't have to read the list, please don't.
So I will, so do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented? So moved.
Second.
All right. I love that, please don't. Jean. Motion from Jean, second from, was that Anne Marie or?
Yes.
Anne Marie, roll call vote, Anne Marie?
Yes.
Jean? Yes. Peter?
Yes.
MJ?
Yeah.
Melissa, yes. Consent agenda is all set. And then our next is the town administrator's report.
Thank you. We are continuing to work closely with Civic Plus on the town's website upgrade. It is our intention that the migration to the new site will occur in late January or early February. And I will keep you posted as we have more definite information. DPW is making some minor carpentry repairs to the boardwalk at 169 Phillips Road in Sycamore Beach over the course of a few Saturdays. There will be no long-term or overnight closures of the boardwalk. There is minimal foot traffic this time of year, but we do apologize if anyone is inconvenienced while we are out there making repairs. Please don't forget to license your dog for 2026. The clerk's office is accepting registrations, and there is more information on the town's website. Reminder notices will not be mailed, so everyone is encouraged to register their dogs before March 1st to avoid any late fees or penalties. We have received formal notice that the funding has been restored and is intact for the Hen Cove Stormwater project that was impacted by the federal government shutdown. Unfortunately, the low bidder was not able to hold their schedule open for us during the delay. Understandably, they needed to move on to other jobs that they had committed to. Mr. Lyden will be putting the project back out to bid, and hopefully we will have the work under contract again soon. Town Council has been working closely with EOEEA's Public Land Preservation Act staff regarding transferring custody of the Article 97 restriction on the county land of Pocasset so that the town may purchase the property. The PLPA waiver has been granted, and the next step is for the Article 97 legislation to be enacted. The bill, H2351, an act authorizing Barnstable County and the town of Bourne to convey land and certain interests in land in the town of Bourne, has been heard by the House Committee on Ways and Means. Council and I have been in contact with Representative Vieira, and he has confirmed that there was no additional information requested by House Ways and Means. A recorded roll call vote is necessary under the Constitution for this matter, and we are hopeful that the final action will be taken soon after January 1st, when the House returns to formal sessions. town council and I will provide additional updates as we have new information to report. Thank you.
The minutes, we have none, any committee reports? I know Peter just gave theirs from their building committee, so good there, and you. All right, hearing none, correspondence.
Yes,
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Peter.
yes. Before this meeting, I was over at the public hearing for the DEIR for the Canal Area Bridge Study. And as part of that, there was a lot of discussion from some area residents who are going to be directly affected. And I did listen intently. So a lot of the information is not new. It's stuff that we've heard about and we heard from in the past. But we did listen intently. But one of the things that came out after the meeting is Louisa, who is the major projects coordinator for MassDOT, on behalf of the governor, would like to come before the select board at some point, and to give the select board as a whole the chance to speak about their concerns with the Canal Area Bridge project. So I'm just communicating that message along and through you, Melissa, and the town administrator, see if you can fit it on the schedule when you have a chance.
Thank you so much, Peter, I appreciate you going. Okay, correspondence.
Correspondence for December 16, 2025. One, email from N Hill regarding petition for public road layout notice. Two, email from G Faria Calcanis regarding betterment project for Tara Terrace and Elder Street. Three, email from Kay Olson, betterment project for Tara Terrace and Elder Street. Four, email from Kay Olson regarding betterment project for Tara and Elder. Five, town bank E Ballast-Jack, library building committee. Six, town bank T Butler, library building committee. And seven, town bank McGarrigle.
Yes, you got it. You got it, right.
Library building committee, thank you very much for applying.
Okay, so future items related to correspondence and other items of future discussion. I know Peter just recommended the bridges representatives. And next meeting dates are January 6th, 13th, and 27th, and 2026. Oh, actually, we have meetings tomorrow. Actually, I skipped that. We have a meeting on Wednesday for our HCA for the cannabis discussion, a workshop that will be, and that is tomorrow from 2 to whenever it ends, I guess. And then we also have a sewer commission meeting scheduled for Friday, that, Mr. Meridian called because we didn't want to wait until January 20th to meet.
I have another thing, the bike path committee met and, they do want to have an opportunity to come before the board to talk about what's going on with the bike path and what we're gonna do. We really haven't had a chance to have that since things have happened, and there are some things that the board needs to talk about. So.
Okay, perfect. We will have it on our next agenda item, review agenda. And again, January 6th, 13th, 27th, select board, January 20th, after the ones I just spoke of. For January, these are the meetings, the 20th for the sewer commission. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Say it. All right, so we got Jean moved, second from Anne Marie. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Anne Marie? Yes. Jean? Yes. Peter?
Yes.
MJ? Yes. Melissa? Yeah. All right, thank you, everyone. That was wow.